Well, hello there, everyone. It's like you talked about here is like how to unlock your locks, and knowing about for most locks, if we're familiar with like how to unlock a lock, and if we've used a lock before, I'm sure any kids who are maybe their first year of middle school, that more likely that they'll probably get some experience what it's like to unlock a lock, and then of course how to keep your stuff safe, like. But other than that, I talk about right here is that knowing about how to figure out a locker combination. And most of the time with most students, if you're going to be getting enrolled back to school, this coming August, and knowing about that a lot of times with most locks like these, that they run between maybe 15, maybe $5 or so. I would probably say that you would not have to pay any more than maybe $13 for them, and unless if you were to think about like having a type of lock, kind of like say that require for useful for a key. But usually that if you were to be using any kind of lock and out there at the schools, that they ask you to provide that they provide a lock, and then a lot of times that happens to where in case if you lose your lock, if you lose the lock, then you would be responsible for providing the funds to provide to pay for for a new lock. And I know whenever I was in middle school that a couple times that knowing that besides having a locker for like classes, that there would be like a locker assigned to me for like during gym class, and knowing about that with most of the time with gym class, that that thing about, I'm like, yeah, that if I can remember right, that the day it was a lock like this, but then the locker that I had for like going from your class to class, a lot of times it was like one of those big tub, like I can maybe show right here is like a background. For example, right here you have right here is if this right here was a locker right here, like something about this size right here, and then knowing about about how it's mounted on there. But other than that, like talking about is like we say with the lockers though, is that if we were to be looking at the locker right here, and a lot of times that they usually say that like with zero usually means that it's like basically it's like a reset. Knowing about if you turn the lock too far to the left, and maybe stop at see here 5, if you maybe stop at 5 or something like that, then that's incorrect. And then a lot of times that they ask you, it's like at least 2 full turns to the left, and then if you were to turn it to the right, and just knowing about how it resets. But anyway, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you about is like how to figure out a lock. And then the best ways, of course, that I know is knowing about how to figure out a lock is that if you look at the lock, and then the combination, of course, will be right here on the back of the lock. And then some teachers that may say that a lot of times the locker combination, that if they give you a lock right here, maybe just assigned you a locker, and then a lot of times that they may say it's written on the form to where you read it, and knowing about how you turn the lock, just to be able to figure out the locker combination. And some that may say that from going from elementary school, and then going from elementary school to middle school, and along with high school, that a few things that they are maybe worried about is knowing about, are they going to be able to find their classes, that type of stuff, and then having the right to book supplies and stuff like that, getting to know their teachers in the classroom. But then one part I'm really knowing about, I'm like, yeah, with locks, because why is it that maybe that this is the most difficult thing to learn about whenever you're starting middle school? And some school kids that may say that they only give you like 5 minutes so to go from class to class, and then sometimes the lockers can be pretty difficult to figure out, because if you're trying to get in your locker, maybe to get a book or a pen or something like that, or if you're just going in there to get your homework assignment or something like that, and knowing about that, a lot of times that they may say that you may have to walk say maybe 2 hallways. If you were to have to walk about at least 3 or 4 hallways just to get to your locker, and then some students that may say that, like, yeah, that I had to walk at least 3 or 4 hallways just to get to my locker, and then figure out the locker combination. And some teachers that may say that, well, if you brought it to school but then it's in your locker, go ahead and go get it, and they give you more time, of course, to go to your locker, and then to get your assignment, your books, whichever that you need for classes. But some that may say that, well, I'm having problems trying to get my locker open, and I remember my first year middle school, I had the most complications. But anyway, we're probably wondering about, like, yeah, how to unlock the lock here. But then, if I figure this out here, is knowing about, it's like one full turn, to the left right here. But it says right here on the locker combination is that, the full turn and stop at 28. So if I were to turn this lock right here, and it knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that for right here is that, see here, one full turn, stop at 20, yep, stop at that 28, and then from there, and then I would turn it, to the right, and then stop at 5. So you got right there is, stop at 5 right there, and then from there, and then you turn to the, see here, turn to the right, and then stop at 26. So go ahead, see here, stop at 26. But other than that, it's like it starts at 0 right here. It starts at 0, and then 2 full turns, to the, it's like to the right. 1 and 2, but then it says, to stop at 28. Stop at 28 right there, and then from there, and then one full turn, and then stop at 5. 5 right there, and then turn like to the left. And we wonder though, is like, why is it that each turn requires a full turn? It's like, full turn to the left and then full turn to the right. You have right here is full turn to the left and full turn right here to the right. And knowing about, I'm like, yeah, why is it that each, it's like it requires, one full turn. And basically that means, it's like, if you turn the lock, you have right here, it's like it goes past the 0, and along with, say, with the 30, and then like the 5, and then back to 0, and you turn again, and then stop at a certain number. But knowing about, I'm like, you say that, well, it takes time, of course, to practice with the lock as well. What you have right here is the lock, and then you turn one full turn to the right here. So one full turn to the right and stop at 28. It's like you got right there, for 28, you stop at 28, and then from there, and then turn your left, and then stop at full turn to the left and stop at 5. And one full turn to the right, and then stop at 26. To stop at 26. Other than that, full turn. Let's see here. I don't know. I'm trying to think here. See, full turn. Stop at 26. And then you have right here is like you have right here is a lock, and knowing about it, you got right here is unlocked, and then basically they going by the steps is knowing that according to the direction it says that you 2 full turns to the right. So that basically means it's like you turn right here, this right here will be right, and then this right here will be left. But then other than that, when I talk about understanding about how to unlock a lock, and then knowing about that if we had, like, say it was like the difference between knowing about a key, a key that you can put in inside the lock. But other than that, what I talk about here is unlock a lock. The basics so far as practice goes, like you have right here, most of us know like how to use. It's like for our right hand, if we usually hold things and then right with our right hand, but then with our left hand, it's basically you say place right here on the desk or something like that for whatever we're working with. But to unlock a lock, a lot of times it requires, like, say, for concentration. And knowing about, I'm like, yeah, just like what you call, using a measuring cup, that type of stuff. But some that may say that no, it's not like, using a measuring cup. But then you have right here is like turn it right here, turn it now right here to the, then this right here will be to the left, and this right here will be to the right. Yeah, we all can see this right here. This right here, left and the right. And knowing about, I'm like, yeah, anybody say that, if anybody were to have those difficult times to where that they're trying to get the lock unlocked, and then it's like, that they're dealing with the situation to where, hey, I'm like, I'm still having problems, but you see right here, I'll go ahead and start right here. It's like for 0, and a lot of times, the usually look at that right there to where that, if, 0 usually means like for reset, but it's like, according to the direction, it says 1 full turn, to the right, and then stop at 28. So I'll go ahead and right here, go ahead and turn this lock right here. Got it laying on the floor right here. Turn this lock right here, and then stop at 28. So you have right there is like a stop, for it there, and then stop at 28, and then at and at 1 full turn, to the, it's like, 1 full turn, to the left. It's like, that would be, see here, I think, goes by saying, could we use a lock as an example of a clock? And knowing about, I'm like, yeah, the clock right here, this right here will be like, say, between noon and and then like between evening and the morning time, that type of stuff. But knowing about the way that you turn the lock right here, and knowing that you have right here, it seems like it's the opposite. Knowing about that it's like between the right and the left, you have right here, this right here will be like what's called like is the right. Even though if we're maybe turn it to the left, but then turn it to the left. One important thing and knowing about is like you understand about how to unlock a lock right here, as you have right here, is like to follow the mark right there, is knowing that for how it goes, like if like between counterclockwise, is knowing that when we turn it right here, turn the knob right here, that we would know that according to what this lock says right here, to this I guess it's say the timer mark or something like that. I'm like the type of mark that you usually have it to where on most locks is knowing that when we turn something, knowing about it's exactly, you say for between counterclockwise and vertical, say clockwise, but between clockwise and counterclockwise, but you have right here is a locker combination, and it's like between one 2 full turns to the right, and then 1 turn to the left, and then 1 full turn, and then stop at 26. But other than that, like I talked about right here, knowing about you turn right here is the right, left, right. Because I say for right, left, right. But then you go right here, I'll go ahead and turn this right here. Go ahead and turn this it's like to the right here. Stop at 28. And then I think, see here, for 1 full turn, one full turn, you'll stop at 28, and then turn to the left. So go and reading that red mark right there. You turn it to the left, full turn to the left, and stop at 5. And then from there, and then 1 full turn to the right, and then stop at 28. It's like for starts at 0 right here for reset, knowing about that and then you may say that usually if you turn it 2 full turns to the right, that basically resets. But you have right here, go ahead and turn right here, following the red mark right there, if like for the line reader, and however you want to pronounce it. It's like for right 26. Right for right for right. Right 28, and then from there 1 full turn to the left, and stop at 5, and then from there, and then turn to the right, Stop at 26. That's how you unlock a lock. Yeah, right here is like the lock unlocked right here. Knowing about, are we really limited to how many times we can mess up? Knowing about, it's like you're trying to figure it out. The lock here, knowing right here is the lock right here. Locks back in like this right here. And then from there, and then it goes by, it's like you turn it maybe a few times, and it's like you have right here stop at 0. But knowing about, I'm like, yeah, for how it turns, from the left to the right. And you have right here, reading this right here, this red mark right here. And then knowing about this red, could be like, say that you say, if you want to call it maybe the diameter, but if we would be walking up to our lockers, and then knowing that walking up to our lockers and trying to figure out the locker combination. And I know with me, I haven't used a locker in years, and knowing about bought this lock right here for a pretty good price, and just thinking about, I'm like, yeah, and you're still having your difficult times, like you say that, yeah, maybe difficult times, try to use the key. The key, and flipping a few switches and knobs, that type of stuff. But what you have right here is like the lock right here, and knowing like your two, it's like your 2 full turns to the right, and then stop at 28 right there. So I say stop at 28, and then from there, and then your 1 full turn to the left, and stop at 5. Stop at 5 right there, and then from there, and then from there, and then you would turn it to the right, and stop at 26 right there. And then it's unlocked. Other than that, like then that's how you that's how you will unlock a lock. It's like working, say, with the locker combination. So far as how to unlock a lock, the locker combination. So I said going back to school, preparing and knowing about that. Yeah, for the things that we learn, they basically say is practice that makes perfect. But then on the hand too, that knowing about is understanding about really about. It's like that knowing about that they say that, well, the number of times that you tried, you just want to give up. And knowing about, like, yeah, there's knowing about really that it's like there ain't no what you call that talk about you just maybe never learn. If you do say, if you do come to a stopping point, or if you come to, it's like the quitting point. Knowing about, it's like if you keep working hard, anybody they think about, I'm like, it seems like maybe what's called like a brain teaser or something like that. Something that gets so complicated that you just don't want to continue working on it. Something that's just so complicated that you just like, I'm about to, but other than that, and then like talk about the, well, I'm about to do something else with this lock. I'm going to take a sledgehammer and then go. Well, other than that, what I talk about here is understanding about really by figuring out how hard are we willing to work, like for patience and knowing about how to unlock a lock. And some that may say that, yep, you're going to take this like maybe the easy way or the hard way. The hard way more like it would be is like yeah, break the iron. But other than that, and then maybe the easiest way, more like I say, yep, is talk to the professional. Talk to the expert that knows the locker combination, knows how to use that type of stuff. But other than that, like I say, we can all be professionals too, as long as we just take the time and the hard work. It's like to learn for that type of experience. So far, as long as talk about for to learn things about almost every day. It's like, so why not work on it? But other than that, like talk about say how to unlock a lock, they lock a combination. And like knowing about, speaking of, it's like how to unlock, say, a locker combination, work a locker combination, how to unlock a lock, and then how to work a calculator. Really about knowing about something that may say that you just never know that if you'll like it unless you try it. It's like try it out, and knowing about you read the directions, etc., etc. But just knowing about, I'm like, yeah, you read the directions, and then that you studied hard, and then something that don't work, that, this, and that. Like, and I've already double checked the directions. I've already studied the directions. I know it's more likely it's not going to work. And knowing about, I'm like, really, you just never know unless you try it, huh? But then on your hand too, that knowing about, I'm like, really, it seems like people say that they go by a thing about, I'm like, really, you just don't know if it's going to work unless you try. Like, and you don't know if you can sing unless if you try, huh? It's so far as enjoy. But other than that, what I talk about here is like it's like for understanding about how to open up a lock, and then you're knowing about how to work, or say our times tables is, I'll say other mathematical type problems it is. But other than that, like knowing about really that it may work by saying it's like that if you were to try it, and then if it works, and if it don't, knowing is like studying about, if it don't work, and then try to work on it to where you can fix it, understanding, learning, studying, understanding, that type of thing, those type of subjects. But in a lot of ways, the way I think about it, though, we may always try, and if it don't work each and every time, and of course, is to keep working on it. It's like, so far as keep working on it, and knowing about, like, if it's like what you call is like for the dancing skills, if it goes like for side by side and side by side, and it's like for the greetings, so far as like and for good morning to you, it's like so far as good morning class. But other than that, talk about here is always like understanding about it's like how to unlock a lock, and it's like working at times tables. It's like you just never know if you like it unless if you try it. But then all you then knowing about, I'm like, really, it's like, for the smart decision, knowing about that, like, really, that we may say that we don't like it because we don't understand it, but then on your hand too, that knowing about, really, that whichever that what you're good at, huh? It's like, so far as for keeping the passion of the dreams, it's like, for knowing about, it's like to study for what we are good at. It's like for understanding, it's like how to unlock a lock. It's like talking about is like how to unlock a lock. It is knowing, understanding about the locker combination and then a calculator. If we were to be like, say, in class and then they're doing like some source of math problems, and then there's somebody that keeps distracting us and then asking us questions, etc., etc., while you're trying to concentrate on something, and it's like, do you think that the problem's gonna? How should I know? Like I never know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to concentrate on this, but then, and knowing about, I'm like, really, how do we know exactly about those incidents that go on, such as if you're trying to get something to work, you're trying to concentrate on just one simple question, if it's going to be a factor, fraction, whichever, and then somebody asks you a question, it's like, do you know if this is going to work? Like, how should I know? I'm sorry, I'm too focused on what's going on here, and I just I don't have full concentration when I'm trying to do here, so I don't mean to be getting all upset or nothing. But anyway, but knowing about, really, that the whole purpose about is like trying to figure out a lock, and knowing about for knowing about that, some that may say it takes a lot harder concentration and work just to try to get unlocked, and knowing that you're trying to figure out a math problem, between trying to figure out a math problem, trying to figure out a lock. It just seems like that feels like it builds up a lot of the tension and pressure inside the mind, especially when our finals are coming up, and in a lot of ways they're like knowing about, a lot of the words that more like we may say in a lot of our dues, that's like knowing about, really, about, is that really about how we feel about it, or is this going by, say, it's like, it feels like it feels like a firecracker going off in our bloodstream, like blah, 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 blah. Like blah, 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 blah. But on the hand and knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that for whatever that relieves the tension and the anger, and knowing about, really, if it's popping bubble wrap, whichever it is, and like if we want to, like, pop our knuckles, that type of thing. But anyway, but knowing about is like, really, about if we were to be, we're trying to figure out how to unlock a lock, and somebody were to ask us a question, I know about, really about, how many numbers are you like, what are you asking me for? What do you think I know? And then I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just, I got a lot going on right now. I don't mean to get mad at you or nothing, but anyway, but knowing about, really, about for how we express our feelings, and knowing about, like, really, whenever something works, it seems like it's like all under control, like we got it from here, that type of situation. But then whenever it comes time to where that might, you try something and you're trying to get it to work, and then you get distracted with something else, that type of stuff, and that's whenever it just seems like blah, 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 blah. But on your hand, to know about if it's what you call for high anxiety, or if it's hypertension or anything like that, anything that nerves, and then knowing about just too much stress going on, a number of things going on at the same time, that type of stuff. But on the hand too, the knowing about, really, how do you know exactly about, for what you say and what you do, is knowing about that's really about knowing about if that's really what you want to do, or you just said that, I'm like, you were angry, I didn't mean it, I didn't mean what I said earlier. But then on your hand, don't know about, like, really, we may have said a number of times that we hate math, but then knowing about, like, how should I know what 5 divided by, I'm sorry, I'm just, I remember that we talked about that, but then on your hand too, I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm just trying to figure it out, in my mind trying to think about that, the number of apples that we had last week or something like that. I'm like talking about, I'm like, yeah, if we were to actually do the math, work this out with the calculator, but how many numbers, how many times does that equal to maybe my seeds that we may find inside of an apple, that type of stuff. But anyway, I'm figuring out to say the locker combination, and knowing about, I'm like, yeah, you're working a calculator and then you're trying to do a math problem and somebody asks you, like, excuse me, do you know I can go away right now? I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm busy with this, and need something, but anyway, but just knowing about just incidents, that situations that go on, and then it just seems like that they just kind of happen all within a second. And we get real mad about something, and then we start calming down, and it says, I'm sorry, that this whole multitasking, is just really getting on my nerves, ain't it? Like, you're trying to work on your schoolwork, and then you're trying to clean the windows or do chores around the house, and it seems like a lot of it's just driving you crazy. But other than that, like I talk right here is like how to unlock a lock. And all that really, that we may try it, but then if we get too busy with it, and just knowing about, how to handle it, and knowing about just take it concentrate for one thing at a time. So far as how to unlock a lock, it's like understand about how to unlock a lock.